Hi, my name's Sue Divin. I'm author of Guard Your Heart. I'm going to read you an extract. This is for the Bangor Literary Journal. This is an extract from chapter 1 by Aidan in June 2016. It was more miraculous than the virgin birth, me finishing sixth form. Not that I believe in holy miracles. Miraculous like the magic millisecond a girl says, yes, and you blurt, really? It was the kind of historic day you only have a handful of in a lifetime. Days that start out all innocent but end up life-changing, for good or bad. Ones that sneak up on you like an unexpected kiss or a kick in the teeth. To be honest, I'd already had my fill of them, mainly the bad kind, but this day was different. My last day of school, ever. One last politics exam, 4 rows of chairs, 14 pupils, 13 pages of my black ink scrawl on lined paper, one varnished assembly hall floor, 7 years of grammar school education, 3 minutes left, 3 minutes till freedom or something. Mindlessly, I flicked through the exam paper, but my concentration was gone. I chewed my thoughts on my pen lid, gazing round at the wood panelling that gave the room its scent of musty polish. Dust danced in the shafts of sunlight, moving, changing, just out of reach. 2 minutes. 2 Nobel Prize winners had escaped these walls. Mr. Seamus Heaney, the famous Irish poet, Hope and Healing Wells and all that, and Mr. John Hume, the famous peacemaker politician from that Good Friday in 1998 when the north of Ireland finally brokered a peace deal. The exact day I'd been born. No pressure, like. Please God, I haven't messed up the A-levels as badly as the GCSEs and my nuclear meltdown 2 years previously. Ironic that maybe it transformed my own troubles quicker than the country. Then again, I hadn't had 4 centuries of being screwed over, just 18 years. 1 minute. The supervisor yawned and shuffled in her chair. It was my last day in the black blazer, white shirt and striped tie. My last day tagged with the dove of Columba and the oak leaf of Dura, Derry. My city. Quierte premium regnum Dei, read the motto. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. Another thing I'd screwed up with flying colours. Guard your heart, Ma had always said. Guard your heart, Aidan. It had been her favourite Bible verse. I hadn't understood it enough at the time. I twirled her ring in my pocket, smoothing my fingertips over the jet stone set in Santiago silver. My lucky charm, my memory. She would have been there, I know, standing by the red kettle in the kitchen with a pack of chocolate digestives and a coffee to ask me how it went, how I felt, her youngest all grown up and finished school. For once, she'd have been proud. Maybe she still was somewhere, God knows. Pens down, gentlemen. Conal grinned, hand signalling a drink. I smiled. It took a month of Mondays for the papers to be collected, and then it was finished. The squeak and scrape of chairs, the thud of heavy doors and old hinges, and finally the sunshine. My luck it would have been lashing, but no, there were blue skies and the scent of cut grass wafting in the warm air, tasted of hope, freedom, and endless possibilities. Like football highlights on a hungover Sunday, most of the post-exam commentary washed over me without sticking. That's really it. Conal slapped my shoulders. I yanked off my tie, scrunched it up with exam questions and lobbed it in the nearest bin. We getting pissed then? I grinned. Like there's no tomorrow. The tidal wave of boys with bags poured out through the doors and the race to the buses before the bell even stopped ringing. Hennessy. I spun towards the unmistakable voice of my Irish teacher. Knew you'd turn out all right in the end. Bye, sir. Thanks. I waved. End of an era. He'd never lost faith in me, even when I had. The bus back to Cregan seemed surreal. For the first time amidst the banter and clash of raised voices, I felt out of place, like a Celtic fan on a Rangers stand. Staring blankly through the fingerprint-smeared window, I tuned out from the hum of traffic and the stops and starts of congestion. My shoulders relaxed. The endless studying was over. I smiled at the loud banging on the windows as a handful of St. Mary's girls swamped past in their short skirts. My phone bleeped. Conal, an address for the party. See you there. Stuff the future and all its what next. There were no uncertainties or unknowns about tonight. That choice was crystal. We'd be getting hammered. The daily uphill trek past the Rathmore shops, the cemetery and the chapel to the rows of terrace houses was the routine trudge, rain, hail or shine, and Cregan, the stony place in its Irish translation, was more of a brick and cement place, really. Like everything else, working class, it still wore its colours tattoos with pride. Green, white, gold, tattered tricolours and lampposts, misspelled, dissident graffiti. I grinned, noticing the fresh lick of paint. Some wisecrack overnight had changed the join the IRA to join the library on our gable wall. So maybe I couldn't blag like the old farts about growing up in the Troubles, but I'd have needed to be tapping a white stick to not see their shadow, especially in a family like mine. One of the better things about Craigan was the view, like a balcony over the city. From every street corner, I was high above the walls, the cathedrals, the bridges, and the river foils sweeping out into the loch and onto the Atlantic. I liked where I was reared. It was home. Doesn't mean I wouldn't kill for a ticket out of the place. It isn't exactly a paradise of prospects. Shannon was out, so the house was empty. Would he ever wash his breakfast dishes before supper? My own room wasn't so chronic. It smelled of sport deodorant and a hint of cheese and onion, rather than the stale cigarette smoke downstairs. I tipped out my blazer pockets onto the bedside table, bus pass, phone, couple of black barrows, loose change, house key and ma's ring. Worth going for a run? I toyed with the idea, but remembering the smell of hot dust radiating off the concrete, grabbed my green t-shirt and ripped blue jeans rather than joggers as I stripped off my uniform. I could ditch it now. Flopping onto the bed, hands behind my head, I stretched and zoned out. Christ, I was wrecked. 3 exams in the 1 week had been draining. I had no idea what was next for me, but right now, I didn't care. My phone vibrated. Hey, wee bro, exam go well, party time. My sister Saoirse was somewhere in deepest, or maybe highest, Bolivia. I imagined her in a chilled-out cafe in the Andes, drinking coca tea. I was glad for her. When it had all happened, she'd shouldered the responsibility of getting me back on planet Earth before heading to explore it herself. All good. Out later. Skype sometime. Voices and the barbecue smell drifting from next door's backyard woke me. I'd been out for the count. The phone, still by my hand, showed 1847, plus missed calls and a message from Shannon. Ticket, you're going out tonight. See you there. Sitting up too quick, my head went dizzy. A message scooping up keys and money. There by 7. Though still early on a Thursday night, many of my mates were already hammered when I arrived at the end of term house party. Summer had started, music and atmosphere spilling into the street. My phone buzzed. Conal, can't make it. Family stuff. Catch you over the weekend. I had my head down in the hallway, texting back, no worries, when I felt her arm draping smoothly round my shoulder. Hey, Shannon, what's the crack? Missed ye? She smiled, running her fingers down my back. I let her take my phone and slide it into my pocket. She looked stunning. I warmed inside, tiredness flooded by testosterone. Dairy girls are like black magic. They transform at dusk. On Saturday mornings, they sneak out to the corner shop in onesies and house shoes, but by the time the evening game shows hit the telly, they're glammed up with fake eyelashes, high heels, and skirts the length of belts. You could make a mint here as a hospital frostbite technician. Not that I'm complaining. Never mind the temperatures. The view sucks my breath away. Shannon smelled of musky perfume and tasted of something unidentifiably sweet and alcoholic as we kissed. You're sober, she pouted. Easy fixed, I smiled, accepting the drink she offered. The unexpected strength of it hit the back of my throat, and she laughed as I coughed. You trying to lead me astray? Don't see you objecting, she winked. People were crammed into the 2-bedroom house, and the mood, or perhaps more than the mood, was high. The living room was simultaneously blaring music and Euro football commentary, Northern Ireland versus Ukraine. The banter was edgy, both Irish teams through to a major tournament. There was a time Ukrainian flags would have clattered Craigan, but things were changing and opinions were split. So what if the North gave a good show? Grand so long as Ireland did better, or specifically that England failed spectacularly. Frustrated BBC commentary was a definite highlight of any championship. The kitchen hosted the biggest crowds. Bottles and cans were jammed everywhere, varying shape, size, colours, empty and full, like the teenagers and the ashtrays. We weren't exactly a city known for sobriety. Fluency in the language of drink is part of the dialect. I'm not drinking tonight translates as I'm driving, or I'm on an antibiotic, or just that I'm not really drinking, like only having a couple of pints. Not that a couple of pints or a few necessarily means 2 or 3 either. Regardless, I was drinking like a drowned fish. I didn't care. It had been my last exam in my last year, and I was fast approaching the point of being beyond listening to anything rational. Shannon was in my arms. Time, sanity, and morality vanished in the fog of sweet smoke, and every movement, every touch fired me from the inside with a constant beat of dance music. Her lips smoothed my neck. "Fancy finding somewhere more private?" she whispered. I nodded, breathing heavy, trying to read her. We clasped fingertips, weaving upstairs through the jam of people. I clicked the bathroom lock. My body was hot-wired, t-shirt off, skin and skin. An echo stabbed my conscience. Heat, breath, hands. I toyed with buttons as the echo persisted. We're both up for this, right? Being, wanting, think. I couldn't even tell which of us was tugging at jeans, but Christ, instead of tiles, the memories of rough fences, bathrooms swapped for back alleys, the burned out shell of me fired up with girls, tabs and recklessness with a smothering of grief. Jesus, the murderous shame afterwards, the pregnancy risks. Was I still that mental? Shouldn't we talk protection? With a sudden jerk of my arms, I shoved Shannon away, and as I tripped backwards from the force of it, I heard her scream, muffled by the loud music. In slow motion, I saw every single detail of how she fell backwards, the shower head crashing down from its metal fixture and slamming into her left cheekbone. As I reached to help her, she glared, punching me in the stomach as a trickle of blood flowed from her nose. The scene jarred a childhood memory. My heart raced, blood pulsing through the tangle of limbs, and yet I was on the floor in a cold sweat when I should have felt hot, and I couldn't see straight or even feel my way through the blur of emotions. When I tried to speak to her, to see if she was okay, the slurred words wouldn't come out right. It wasn't me, not even a drunk me. My head pounded. I knew what it was. I'd been there before, but why was I here now? I couldn't think straight for blackness and light and sound and my heart pummeling my chest. I pulled my t-shirt back over my head as she stepped across me. "Shannon," I finally managed to speak, but she'd unlocked the door and was gone in a wave of rage and humiliation. Faces peered round the doorpost. I felt sick, not just from the drink. Even in the riot of the party, I sensed the whispers, the eyes, as she moved through the hall into the late evening air. Stares burned my back as I meandered drunkenly, trying to melt into the faded wallpaper. My heart was in my dry mouth, racing. What the hell just happened? There was laughter too, and light-hearted punches from some of the lads. I tried to shake it off like there was no issue. The music melted in my brain. "Shut up, I need air, I need to think." Spinning, my mind was spinning. She'd fled the street. I turned every direction to find her, so lightheaded I wanted to throw up. The moon, high and bright over the city, caught my focus. Dogs barked. She was gone. "Shannon," I shouted half-heartedly, my voice deeper than it should be. And then I shut up and kicked the pavement. As a mess of it all hit me, I shook, like that night in our childhood kitchen when everything changed. Am I just him? Is this the way I'm going to be too? Thanks.